Your cameras all should be off. No cameras.
No, this camera is over.
The Devil's Advocates radio show is broadcast under a time brokerage agreement between Devil Radio and Civic Media, Inc. Some portions of this program may be pre-recorded. Warning, you are about to listen to the greatest radio show ever. And due to contractual obligations and to shield our airwaves and corporate licensees from any semblance of liability, responsibility, and gullibility, we must tell you the views represented on this show are not necessarily those of this station or its management. This radio show contains differing points of view on current political topics, and due to the nature of its contents, it should be heard by everyone. Thank you for listening. Now live from the Civic Media Studios in Madison, Wisconsin, where the political party is just beginning, welcome to the Devil's Advocates radio show. Friends proving it's never personal, only politics.
Please allow me to introduce myself.
And now, here's your hosts, Dom and Crute.
Welcome to the Devil's Advocates radio show. Welcome to the United Center, the DNC Milwaukee. Damn, Chicago.
Yeah.
Screw it up right from the get-go. Dom,
do you know where you are, Trump? You know what town you're in?
welcome to Monday. We've got our friend Scott Ross. He's a trash texting Gemini friend of ours. He's down here doing a lot of media hits, and we appreciate you joining us, Scott Ross. And if you don't mind, as soon as former Governor Jennifer Granholm, Secretary of Energy, as soon as she gets here, you're gone, buddy. So I better let you talk now.
I would be offended if you didn't throw me off.
We will absolutely throw you off when Governor Granholm gets here.
That sounds perfect.
Scott Ross, the DNC new enthusiasm, buddy.
Yeah, this is great. I mean, I apparently I picked the right time at the age of 55 to finally come to a Democratic National Convention because I've never been to one before. I went to the RNC, last month, and that was the first time I'd ever been to one of these things. And the enthusiasm, again, like you say, is off the charts. Like I just see nonstop hugging, appropriate hugging, but I see nonstop hugging going on throughout the halls here.
I can't promise it's all going to be appropriate hugging, Scott Ross. If I get you alone later, man.
Well,
Scott, I got to tell you, this enthusiasm, the Democrats party and the Republicans less so. And we saw that in Philadelphia. Dom and I were in Philly at Hillary Clinton's nomination in 2016. And Trump's nomination in 2016 was like a morgue. And Hillary Clinton's was like a rock concert. And I would say the enthusiasm we are now feeling, it exceeds that, Scott Ross.
Yeah, and again, I think that you're hitting exactly what the thing is. It's enthusiasm, it's excitement, it's opportunity. It's restoring joy and hope to our politics because for 8 years, well, go back to 2015, but 2016, when it really hit home after Trump was elected, that there is something really rotten and bad going on in our politics, and there is an impact and a consequence for that, as so many people know. Literally every demographic knows because it's been hit somehow. And the crescendo of all that is coming here where we are going to, have put in nomination, the first black woman to ever be president of the United States. And it is incredibly exciting. And again, it could not be coming at the better time when they have stripped away the rights that women enjoyed for 50 years and turned them back into second-class citizens legally.
Folks, you're listening to the Devil's Advocates radio show. Our friend, Scott Ross, he's a firebrand. He's a Gemini. He is Mr. Ethics. Great to see you, man. You're looking great, man. The excitement here is contrasted, I think, by what we saw at the RNC. And as time continues to flow by, this is our third go-around of the presidential. It's really the contrast, fourth, it's really the contrast between Trump now and Kamala Harris and Walz. And I think what really gets me excited right now is to see how they're flailing on the other side. I've not seen unity like this ever. I've not felt the energy like this ever. I've not been personally excited about a convention like I am right now, and it's the other side's losing their mind, seemingly. They don't have an attack plan, and they seem to be flailing.
No, absolutely. And, they didn't help themselves by bringing on a vice presidential candidate who has no business being on a national ticket, who doesn't have the experience. All he does
He's weird.
He is the vehicle for, Silicon Valley billionaires, anti-worker billionaires to come in and, enact their policy, both of tax breaks, but also of stripping away every protection that workers have in the workplace. And that is why he is on the ticket. This is a guy who got, the largest single contribution from a human being in American history.
Yeah.
When Peter Thiel, the German or South African, Elon Musk is South African,
right.
Peter Thiel, I think, is German, who doesn't believe in democracy, went and financed him, and now he's on the ticket. I mean, this is, that is ugly stuff. And I think you saw it just in terms of, and
I was grooming this guy from day one. I mean,
Yeah.
it's like he picked this guy up, and he was a senator, and he had the support of Thiel back then. It's blatant.
Absolutely. And the thing is, I think you tell me if you think from being here a couple hours that you're going to see, for instance, Tammy Baldwin walk out of, Tim Walz's speech 10 minutes in, like Ron Johnson did at the RNC. He left didn't want to hear it. So so again, I think that's
Ron
the difference.
walked out on Trump's speech at the
No,
RNC?
not Trump, on J.D. Vance's
Vance.
speech.
Yeah,
like 10 minutes in.
Well, both would be a sensible thing for Ron to do.
Well, in theory, right? But the thing is, you turn around the biggest applause lines in Milwaukee. The biggest applause lines in Milwaukee were when Trump, at minute 75 started going after trans people. Like that, I think, just shows you the difference between the two sides, where they're at right now. And again, we've got a 78-year-old, 34-time convicted felon, twice impeached, who, has very clearly shown that he has lost his mental faculties. So, of course, enthusiasm is on the Democrat side.
Scott Ross, our good friend. Scott, we got to jettison you here in a moment. Jennifer Granholm, former governor of Michigan, going to join us. She's a cabinet-level secretary, and I don't think she trash tweets as much as you do.
Well, let me just say this. For history, back in 2002, when Secretary Granholm first ran for governor, it was the same time when Wisconsin ran its first woman on a major party ticket, Kathleen Falk, and I worked for her. And that same election was when Peg Lautenschlager, and I got to work for her after the primary, became the first woman attorney general in the history of the state of Wisconsin. And just think about, those were firsts in Wisconsin.
Firsts, right.
22 years ago, now we're going to have the first woman president and a black woman to boot. This is awesome.
That is great.
Scott Ross, great seeing you down here at the DNC, man. Can't wait to hook up and show you some of the nightlife.
Yeah, and let's talk
If
again.
you haven't DNC'd before, we know how this is done.
Excellent.
Folks, we are the Devil's Advocates. We're expecting a fine guest to join us here at the table momentarily. Secretary Granholm, Jennifer Granholm, former Michigan governor. Very exciting. You got to keep your head on a swivel, though. You got to be prepared to take all comers at the opportune moment. We're also hoping to be joined by Mark Pocan here in this hour, my congressman, our friend, Matt Flynn. And there is not a more Joe Biden-loving man in America than our pal Matt Flynn. So we're going to check in with Matt Flynn. He's back in Milwaukee. I think he might sneak up and see Kamala tomorrow.
While we wait for Granholm, Scott, let me ask you this: the Project 2025 has been foremost and forefront, and the Republicans are really. It depends on who you talk to. You're walking away from it, or you're getting it. How big of an impact do you think that is right now?
I think it's huge because of the issues. Again, they're going to end no-fault divorce, get rid of all abortion, take away workers' rights, and take away trans rights. So that's the end of that.
Scott Ross, thank you so much. We're going to clear the decks here momentarily so we can bring Jennifer Granholm on. She's
Good to
the
see you
Michigan
later.
governor.
Thank you,
Thanks, Scott. And you are listening to the Devil's Advocates. We're live at the United Center in Chicago, Illinois, the DNC, and we've got the former Michigan governor, current. Very nice to meet you. Jennifer Granholm. Let's talk about Michigan. You're sitting next to a former Detroiter.
Really?
Yes, born in Livonia,
You were
absolutely.
born in
I know,
Livonia?
if you
No
believe it.
kidding.
I love it. It's
I
great.
lived for a long period of time in Northville, the
Oh, yeah,
neighbor
sure.
to Livonia.
Yeah,
So that's
excellent.
awesome.
Pleasure to meet you.
Nice
Governor
to meet you.
Granholm, if you don't mind me calling you such, Kamala Harris, and I know you're here as a private citizen partying at the DNC like the rest of us. what is the
If
enthusiasm
we're
feel like?
partying, where's the beer, man?
We can handle that, man. We are the Wisconsin
Happy hours.
contingent.
Oh, look, all right.
We've got a runner. What is the feeling in Michigan? Friends at home, are they saying good things about
Oh,
Kamala
my
Harris
gosh.
and the ticket?
Yes, they're so. I mean, there's just this huge sense of infusion of energy and excitement, and I mean, people love her, and she's visited Michigan a lot, and that's great. And the newness of Tim Walz added to it, who's obviously from the Midwest as well, and he brings that whole Midwestern, aura and sensibility and
Yeah.
humor and realness. The combination is really quite irresistible.
Genuine, and it comes
is
across. Yeah.
Totally comes across. It's pretty exciting.
Governor, did you ever imagine how quickly the tenor of the race could turn? I
Yeah.
mean, Joe Biden did such a statesman-like thing. He stepped
did.
aside. But I am shocked at the Democrats herding their cats immediately behind this candidate. I've never seen such a thing.
It's funny. I think because of the short period of time that we have between now and the election, 77 days, that forced folks to make sure that they were going to get in line, I think, because we just, the president was utterly gracious, and I think he'll be utterly gracious tonight. I think he was heroic, honestly, in doing what he did, a selfless act to hand the baton. And, that's what succession is all about, is you want to have somebody succeed you, building on your success. And the successes that the Biden-Harris administration have are real. And I know that in Michigan and probably Wisconsin as well, that people are starting to see these factories being built, the reversal of the loss of the manufacturing jobs that we had seen for so long. And, the combination of the personalities at the top, the realness of it, the joy that they're bringing, and the policies that are happening, and the contrast, which
You're
is
right.
significant.
Yes.
Secretary Granholm, I saw Ron Johnson and Rick Scott, a couple of Republican senators, doing their pushback against the DNC today. They claim all inflation stems from energy cost, and their plan is drill, baby, drill.
Okay, first of all, this is so ridiculous. I mean, I'm speaking in my personal capacity,
Yes,
but I
ma'am.
happen to know from reading in the paper
Yes.
that we are producing more oil and gas now than we ever have, so more than under the Trump administration. The inflation is pegged to things like energy. That is true. But inflation has come down from 9% to below 3%. By 2/3, it has dropped. Trump's plan to put a tax basically on all imports would cause inflation to go through the roof again, costing families almost $4,000 a year. The policies that they're putting in place, or that they want to put in place, are ridiculous. They want to repeal the very acts that are bringing all of these jobs to America. We all want to make sure that we are competing against China, and all these factories are coming to America. They're going to repeal that when people are getting jobs across the country. It's insane.
Governor Granholm, Secretary Granholm, thank you so much for giving a few minutes of your time. Ron Johnson said it's tough to be a billionaire today. You don't even know. Thank you so much. More Devil's Advocates live at the DNC. More fine guests. Join us next.
Thank you.
Malarkey? The devil's advocates invented malarkey.
And we are back from the 420 break live from the United Center in Chicago. It's the DNC. It's not Milwaukee. It's not the RNC. It's the DNC in Chicago. Thank you for joining us. Thank you, Jennifer Granholm. Thank you, our buddy Scott Ross. We look forward to Congressman Mark Polkan going to join us here in a little while as well.
The first of many things I intend to butcher this week.
it's Monday, man.
RNC
You got
week?
all
No,
week.
DNC week. I'll write the
Yes,
DNC.
DNC.
So these are the Democrats.
Yes.
No wonder why everyone's wearing blue around here.
And everyone's got a smile on their face.
The city was already hopping on Sunday night when I arrived in town. I know the Civic Media crew, they had their own little party going on. But when I came downtown here, Dom, there were delegates being festive in the respective, well, let's just call it the hotel bar.
Yes.
Where we were staying. You'll check it out with me later.
It is one of the most joyous occasions when you get to meet the folks at the hotel bar.
But here's the problem. Unlike the last time we did the Democratic convention, we are not staying at the hotel with the contingency from the state of Wisconsin.
Why not?
I didn't know. I booked this hotel room back in January, man. They gave us dates long before they told us where the contingent was going to stay. So anyways, I got up this morning and I thought to myself, I'm going to go up to the breakfast because the breakfast, they're often newsworthy. They have newsmakers and
Like
get to
the
interview them.
Wisconsin, specifically
The
Wisconsin delegation
contingent
breakfast. Gotcha.
delegation breakfast
Gotcha. Okay.
up the road.
All right.
I got a $62 parking spot, dude. I'm not moving the car. So I walked it, and the way they express this on the ticket, they're like, well, you're not going to have a chair. We're going to put you in the penalty box in the back. We've got too many press attending this thing, so if you could kindly not attend, we'd really appreciate it.
I was getting uninvited, man.
Well, not me specifically, just like broadly, you had to go through like 3 different spreadsheets just to put your name on the list. So anyways, I'm like, well, then, maybe I'll show up closer to the end, right? Because I don't want to stand there for an hour and a half. 8:30 to 10, I think the time listed. So I get in there and, they're doing interviews. I see Tony Evers, the governor of Wisconsin, getting interviewed. I see our friend Ben Wickler, the Democratic Party chair. And, I'm thinking, man, we're going to get some of these people during the course of this week. Some I could get some now. Mark Polkan, we're getting him a little bit later today on this fine broadcast. And one of the former candidates says to me, man, wasn't that great, Tim Walz, this morning?
What? Come on, man. How do you...
The vice presidential candidate came to the Wisconsin contingent for breakfast. And guess who wasn't there
And you
yet?
weren't there. Did you come in last night? I mean,
I did come in last night.
Crute, you had one job, man. You had one job.
I did have one job, and I frickin' blew it. I blew my one job, Dom, to go to the breakfast. Where were you?
Well, I was working, man. I was on my way down.
So, anyways, mea culpa.
Yes.
And you know who introduced Tim Walz to the Wisconsin contingent? Senate Majority Leader Chuck Schumer.
Oh, Chuck
Your
was
boy
there
Chuck
too.
Schumer.
Come on, man.
So, anyways, I missed it.
Good thing we came all this way to miss it. What were you doing about that time? I mean, I was wondering, like, the opportunity cost.
Probably just walking, just ambling. I mean, I swear I probably killed an hour at the hotel just waiting. Do you think it's been long enough? Because I don't want to sit in the back. Had I known, I let you all down, our fair audience. Rich, can you hear me, Rich? Back on the mothership in Madison.
Indeed,
Rich,
I can.
Do we have some sound of Tim Walz?
Yes, we do.
Hey, let's play some of the Tim Walz from the morning breakfast. If Crute couldn't be there, well, we'll play it for you on the radio and we can all hear it together. How many cuts do we have?
Total of 4.
Total of 4? Well, let's get it rolling. Tim Walz talking to the Wisconsin Dems, minus Crute, talking about a brighter future. Without Crute, cut 1.
No one in this room needs to be told of what the alternative is. We understand what the alternative is. That doesn't motivate people. It's not just beating those guys. It's about setting a course for a future that's brighter for everyone. It's about the idea of the things that we believe in, whether it's democracy or freedom or the strength of our public schools or decency or doing the things we know out in our part of the wood. Keep the water clean. Keep the air clean. Do those things that make a difference.
clean water, clean air. I'd have had about enough of this socialist talk. We've got a few more from Tim Walz, governor of Minnesota, at the Wisconsin delegation breakfast. This
Totally
morning
missed it.
That Crute missed. Let's play cut 2, please.
Since Kamala Harris became our nominee, our presumptive nominee, you'll finish the work. We know what needs to be done here. In Wisconsin alone, brand new people signed up to volunteer. 42,549 signed up. 18,956 completed shifts. 602,000 phone calls. And 185,000 doors knocked on.
Wow, that's amazing.
That's
Almost
a lot of door knocking.
43,000 people signed up in the last month since Vice President Harris became the lead. Just a couple short ones from Tim. Cut 3, please.
Everybody's standing shoulder to shoulder. And for each of you, no one knows that sense of sacrifice more than you of being here. I'm grateful for your commitment to this party, but more importantly, I'm grateful for your commitment to this country.
Oh, humility.
What's that?
Thanks, appreciation. Man, these are just, it's been so long. Last one from Governor Walz in Chicago today. Cut 4, please.
78 days is what we got left. So you hear me tell Mr. Rallies, I'm going to continue to say it. We've got 78 days of hard work. We can sleep when we're dead. Not now. Not now. Not now.
That was my only question this morning when I realized I'd missed both VP nominee Tim Walz and also Senate Majority Leader Chuck Schumer. Did he use the line? Did he give the line?
And he did. We'll sleep when we're dead.
We'll sleep when we're dead. And here's the problem. I was up. I set the alarm. I got up.
You could have been there. You could have had a chance.
I could have been a contender. Folks, you are listening to the Devil's Advocates Radio Show live on the road, DNC, Chi-Town, Chicago. And we got a fine guest. My congressman's here, Mark Pocan, our friend. He'll join us at the table next. And we'll catch up with our buddy Matt Flynn, a very Biden-centric guy.
Very
Joe
direct.
Biden. Tonight is Joe Biden's night. Odin, also, did we mention, we'll be providing coverage all night long, anchored coverage right here on the Civic Media Network, WCPT 820 AM and KTNF 950 AM. Got the Midwest covered, the Big Ten Network. Broadcasting right here, Devil's Advocates live in Chicago. Mark Pocan at the table next.
The Devil's Advocates, tackling the issues you're not allowed to talk about at the dinner table.
Welcome back to the Devil's Advocates Radio Show live on the road, DNC in Chicago. We got a fine guest. He's joined us at the table. He's my magical congressman, Mark Pocan. Mark, welcome back, man. Been missing you.
Yeah, it's great to be with you guys.
Yeah, thank you, Mark.
Yeah, see you in person for a change instead of via phone.
Well, I saw you this morning. I just missed Tim Walls. How was he, sir?
Who? He was great. I mean, you know, if it wasn't for their crappy sports teams, right? Wisconsin and Minnesota are very similar. We sound alike, similar values. Each of us would probably jumpstart your car if you needed it, you know, and to have someone like that on the ticket that can talk like people from Wisconsin or Michigan, I think is really helpful in a couple of the swing states we need to win.
Yeah.
Mark, I was with you and a crowd of maybe 300 to 500 in Madison, Wisconsin on July 5th. And you introduced Joe Biden from the stage, and this was post-debate, and these were difficult times for Joe. And 2 weeks later to the day, you encouraged Joe Biden to step out of the race. He did so. He took your advice, and I suspect a few others, dropped out on Sunday. By the following Tuesday, I'm at Kamala Harris. There's Mark Pocan. Were you not? Or
No,
you
I
missed
wasn't
that
there.
one?
I didn't get to that
Well,
one.
anyways, Mark, my point being is, did anything change in those 2 weeks?
Well, I did have a talk with him behind the scenes, and I'm not going to go into what I said, but I think I expressed the nervousness that people had about his ability to beat Donald Trump, because that was what we were getting. You know, that's all I was hearing. And I also felt that he, fair or not, I mean, not fair, really. I mean, he just came to this late in life, and he has, you can see he's gotten older, right? Just since I saw him in March even. And so, you know, what he did was something that's pretty much unheard of in Washington, is he put his country above his own personal ambition and stepped aside so that the Democrats could win. And the values that, the reason he ran to begin with, and he's been doing this for decades, he actually put that first, but in a way that I don't know many politicians who would do. So, you know, he deserves tremendous credit for that, but the energy is unbelievable coming out of there. People now aren't nervous about losing to Trump. They're enthusiastic about electing the next generation.
Yeah.
And it's not an old black and white rerun. You now got a new fall episode of something people are excited about. And that's what I see wherever I'm traveling.
Folks, you're listening to the Devil's Advocates Radio. Congressman Mark Pocan joining us at the Civic Media booth at the DNC in Chicago. Mark, the excitement from the young voters is really something. And the Selfless Act, I got to say, I'm so looking forward to hearing the president's speech tonight.
Yes.
And before he decided to step back, I was not looking forward to hearing his speech this week. So, and I'm just absolutely relieved, and to see the the fundraising, the volunteers, like 43,000 people in Wisconsin alone.
Yes.
And the younger voters really getting excited. What do you think about how that's going to impact this race?
It's huge. I mean, you know, we have our neighboring congressional district, the 3rd Congressional District, has one of America's more embarrassing members of Congress, Derek Van Orden.
Yes.
Right? Insurrectionist turn buffoon congressman, whatever you want to describe him as. And there are 6 UW campuses in that district. There are more undergrads in the 3rd District than in my district with UW Madison.
Wow.
And I think this means a lot in a district like that where we only lost by 11,000 votes. So if you've got tens of thousands of students who might not have been as motivated, whether it be because of Israel-Gaza or the age of the president, you know, there are 2 people most people weren't happy with the debate. They didn't like either candidate. I heard that all too often. One of those candidates is still running. That's Donald Trump. And we now have someone who's got a very different, positive, forward-thinking campaign. And that is totally, I agree, connecting with young voters.
My congressman, our friend Mark Pocan, here at the table at the DNC in Chicago. Mark, I ventured off campus today and went over to Trump Tower, and I saw U.S. Senator Ron Johnson and Rick Scott. And during the course of the conversation, the Q&A with the assembled media, Ron bemoaned how difficult it is to be a billionaire, Mark.
It's tough.
And he's standing there with Rick Scott, and they're talking about making America wealthy again. And I'm thinking, here are 2 of the richest members of the U.S. Senate standing here together. And didn't the other guy defraud Medicare, get fined $1.7 billion? I'm thinking, what a fine representation they make. But Mark, do you feel bad for the billionaire class?
You know, I'll say screw them instead. What I was going to say. How's that? But could you find two more out-of-touch elected officials at a more out-of-touch location in Chicago this week than the Trump Tower to have a more out-of-touch message? Which is pretty much the theme of the Republican Party right now, right? This is people who are not connecting. Donald Trump is not, being the main thing talked about every day, which is driving him even more crazy. And instead we have a campaign talking about joy, which is what people really would rather talk about, right? Instead of the gloom and doom, the artificial gloom and doom that Donald Trump talks about, people now have something aspirational. So I think Rojo should go to every place billionaires go and share his message of woe, but I don't think the average voter is caring.
Mark, I drove through rural Wisconsin up to northern Wisconsin this weekend. A lot of Trump signs, man. Still a lot of Trump signs. I'm not seeing the population of Harris signs, not in rural Wisconsin at least.
But we just put a second name on the ticket. And as a printer, it takes a little bit of time to do things. So
I'm still waiting on
I'm not too worried yet.
Mark, I ordered the camouflage Walls Harris hat or Harris Walls hat in orange. End of September, man.
I know.
You could have turned that around in a week.
This is the reality. So I'm not too nervous on that. I did a lot of traveling in the 3rd Congressional District in July and August and talked to lots of people. The energy is really there on this ticket, and you will see a lot of visibility once people get a chance to print the second name, because it is relatively new, right, to the ticket, and you're going to see that coming out of the convention. I'm not worried at all. In fact, just the opposite. When I see people who no longer are going to campaign because they're nervous and they're afraid someone's going to get elected, now they want to elect someone, it's a palpable difference, and it's going to help us in the 1st and 3rd congressional districts where people like Peter Barca and Becca Cook are running, as well as the 8th and some other where we have strong candidates, and also the state legislature. Don't forget, in Wisconsin, it is so important. I don't want to forget. I just talked about presidential when we have Tammy Baldwin to make sure she's reelected. We have congressional seats to pick up, but in the assembly in particular, we can pick up the majority and get us so close in the Senate in 2 years. Governor Evers will have Democratic majorities in both houses. That, given where we were in 2010 when we lost all these, is a big
It's amazing.
effing deal, as Joe Biden will say, since he's going to be speaking today.
Mark, the 3rd CD, the DCCC, didn't support as much. PAF lost by what, a point? I mean, 4 points perhaps.
4 points, about 3.5.
Was closer than anyone thought it was going to be.
Yeah.
How do you think this is going to funding? How do you think the funding is going to be?
So the House
support
Majority
this year?
PAC, which is the arm that does that for the D-Trip, has a $4 million reservation right now in the 3rd CD. Doesn't stay unless we poll well, so we have to make sure we're polling well, but that's how committed they are. We had nothing 2 years ago. It was the worst operation for the Democratic Congressional Campaign Committee. This year, one of the best since I've been there.
And Van Orden has identified himself for who he is. He lambasted kids.
He's in a bar right now.
And young women and
with a bar tab too. I'll bet.
At the RNC, he got into a scuffle with a protester and proclaimed political violence. This is after the assassination attempt.
His hips hurt.
I mean, the angst and the
He's an awful human being, right? Just you can just say that.
The grievances.
Cut to the chase.
So it's so raw and wrong to say you were a victim of political violence after an attempted assassination when you were the one starting this kind of thing. I think the reflection of the man as he is presented himself in Congress, as he's presented himself to the community, I think it should be an easy win. I mean, it's not going to be easy, but I don't know who else you want to go up against in the situation that Cook is in and the Dems are in right now.
They're going to have a lot of money. Nothing is easy in a purple district and a purple state. Let me just say that first. So that's why, we all are going to have to work really hard. It's a very rural district with 4 TV markets, which is very difficult to get messaging out. So that's real. But I agree. I mean, Derek Van Orden truly is one of the most embarrassing members. And I serve with Marjorie Taylor Greene, and I'm saying that. Think about it. Like, he is truly awful. I one night recently, after happy hour, he had about 20-some tweets. I'm like, what was the special in Prairie du Chien that night that got him so going? We know who this guy is.
Buy one, get one, baby.
I think he was getting more than one when he was paying for the one. But we got to beat him. And then in the first district, Peter Barca, who former member of Congress, former leader of the Democrats in the Assembly, former Secretary of Revenue, is running against Brian Stile. And, Brian Stile, as you know, tries to take no positions on anything. He wants to be flavorless Jell-O, whatever he's next to, he's going to taste like. We got a chance to get a real, person elected who's got all kinds of great credentials. So the first and the third are districts people should be watching.
And the 8th, I think.
And the 8th as well. I agree.
Kristen Lyerly against that
To have
Trump-endorsed Tony Weed
an
guy.
OBGYN against the guy who uses the dinosaur as his symbol of his business. I think I know who's more forward-thinking when I come
Yeah,
to
but
that.
Jesus rode that dinosaur, Mark. Your staff is telling us you're short on time, sir. We don't. Well, apparently
We're
not.
good. All right.
We're going to keep going here, Mark. They're
what I'm
just
told
fine.
when
They're
it
not
comes to
paying
this.
attention
I
to you.
have no idea on time.
Our fine guest, Mark Pocan, here at the table. Mark, I believe Hillary's also going to speak tonight.
She might be.
I
Yes.
believe she is on the speaking agenda.
There,
She
you
is,
know,
yeah.
I am going to say this, and I get yelled at every time. Someone's going to be mad, and you're going to get someone to write you on this. But, that campaign was like the worst ever in Wisconsin, right? Not because of Hillary, but because of the campaign. And she never came post-primary. Look how much Kamala Harris and Tim Walz, and before that, Joe Biden are coming to the state. They get the message that you have to talk to folks and talk to them about what they care about, and their agenda is an
What do you
economic
think about
agenda.
them coming tomorrow in the middle of the DNC,
I love it.
going and
I
doing a
love it.
rally in Milwaukee? I think it's brilliant, but
It's called MF. It's like
it does squeeze the
they are
resources.
badass MFs, right? That's what they're
You
telling
love that idea, sir.
I love the idea. The only thing better is if they found a way to, I don't know. It's a great way to send a message of the Republicans had this convention with zero bounce, and they appointed a zero to be on the VP, who's not going to get them any additional support, and to show this ticket with the energy and enthusiasm and go right up to Milwaukee at the same place where they had their speeches and do an even better job, and hopefully maybe even a bigger crowd, which would make Donald Trump just
Lose his mind.
have a 2
again.
a.m. tweeting again or whatever his Truth Social
It
business
should
is.
be a neat thing. I hear J.D. Vance is coming to answer.
Oh, God. The only thing worse than Ron Johnson going to the Trump Tower to talk about billionaires might be Vance going to Milwaukee to talk about anything.
Mark Pocan, the week builds. I mean, we're honoring Joe Biden tonight. Obviously, he deserves our respect, and what a thing he did. But the enthusiasm really builds during the course of the week. Right now, Kamala Harris has not put a clear policy agenda as a candidate, as a presidential candidate. Mark, I'm okay with that for a bit. What do you think?
Well, we already know what she and Joe Biden did, right? And it was their administration that passed an infrastructure bill that got us out of COVID. That's making things here to get in America, computer chips through the Chips and Science Act, helping us reduce the cost of prescription drugs and energy, right? So she's got all those credentials, which are more than solid, but people need to just connect and like her and Tim Walz, and I think they're going to. So you can either vote for joy and positive opportunity and aspirations for your family, like you're getting out of Harris Walz, or you can have the gloom and doom of Donald Trump and J.D. Vance, which is still bizarre.
The shtick's getting old, Mark. It really is getting stale.
It's a black and white rerun versus that new fall, program that's coming out, and I think I know where people are going to go for that.
Congressman Mark Pocan, it's been the talk of the town the last couple of days. I want to get your opinion on it. Who's better looking, Kamala Harris or Donald Trump?
Oh, man. The only thing that could pull maybe higher than do you like puppies would be that. I think that's pretty easy to figure out.
Okay, just wanted to know.
Remember when Ed Schultz used to do those polls on MSNBC? They go 98-2.
Yes.
I kind of see that one
I think so.
spinning out as such.
I was gonna say who has better hair, but even there, I think I know. Who has more removable hair? Maybe that's the question we should ask.
Mark, you and I will stay out of the hair business.
Hey,
What? Come on.
you know what? I haven't had to buy shampoo for a long, long time, and I'm pretty damn happy about
I haven't paid a barber in forever either, Congressman. Mark Pocan, thank you for joining us here at the table at the DNC in Chicago. I know you got to move on, sir, but we really appreciate it. And look forward to having a cold spotted cow someday soon.
Absolutely, guys.
Thank
Love
you,
to.
Mark.
Yeah,
Appreciate
thank you. Take care.
More Devil's Advocates. Come back. Matt Flynn and maybe a few other surprise guests.
Try to understand. He's a magic man.
Devil's Advocates know how to kick ass and chew bubblegum, and we're all out of bubblegum.
And welcome back to the Devil's Advocates radio show live from the DNC United Center in Chicago, Illinois. It is a glorious, fun time already. Thank you, Congressman Mark Pocan, swinging by. We'll try to get some more fun, exciting guests for you this week.
I'm eyeballing Tom Perez over there, former DNC chair. He was a good guy to us, man. We probably interviewed Tom at least 10 times around the nation. Every presidential debate we went to.
That's right.
We got us some Tom Perez. Hopefully he can join us here on the show. We invited him. And we also invited our friend back in Milwaukee. Hopefully he's standing by. Rich, going to need your help with this. But let's take Matt Flynn if he's on the phones. Are you there, Matt Flynn? Rich, you got to communicate with me. Is Matt there?
All right, let's see here.
Let's see.
844-967-2789.
Well, I guess we'll keep talking because our producer isn't communicating with us. Rich, it'd be nice if you did.
There we go. Matt, are you?
Matt.
Let's see here. Come on.
Matt Flynn.
And we just lost Matt.
And we lost Matt.
And we lost him.
So
I'll try to
we're
get
at
Matt
the
back
DNC
again.
in Milwaukee and best laid plans and all that kind of stuff. 844-967-2789. Matt Flynn, call us because I don't know a bigger fan of Joe Biden than our pal Matt Flynn. If you'll recall, Dom, his resume, he's a twice elected Dem Party chair of the great state of Wisconsin, and he ran for governor, and he's a fairly direct guy. He's our buddy Matt Flynn. So as soon as he's screened, that might be Matt calling in on somebody else's line. I'm not clear. But, Dom, tonight is Joe Biden's night here at the DNC. And we will be providing anchored coverage from WCPT 820 AM right here in the host city of Chicago. We're also going to be on KTNF 950 AM and on the Civic Media Network. So stay right here. We'll be providing your coverage all night long. You don't have to turn it on the TV. You can turn it right here on the Civic Media app. And our buddy Matt Flynn, let's see if we can get him. Matt, welcome back, man. What do you got for us?
Hey, Matt. Matt, you're up. Matt's not there.
And
all right, we'll try Matt.
We're not getting the phones.
We're not getting the phones. It's not happening. Crute tonight, of course, mentioned the speech that I'm super excited to see. That a month ago I was honestly dreading just a little bit.
The Joe Biden speech.
The Joe Biden speech today.
Well, the nature of the speech has changed.
Yeah, you think?
I do think.
And it's just I can't say it enough. The selflessness, the professionalism. A guy who's been serving for over 50 years in some sort of capacity. To step aside for a new generation. Gen Xers finally, okay, boomers, it's our turn now. And the way he did it, I think, and you see, he reported, he's a little frosty sometimes about this. Well, those are tough decisions to make, and anybody would probably has. As Joe, he resisted for a long time, listening to some of those folks who were a little concerned about this. But he's going to give his speech tonight, as well as Dr. Jill Biden, Chris Coons, a senator from Delaware, Senator Warnock from Georgia, also Andy Beshear from Kentucky. He's the governor. Lots of folks. I can't wait to see Jimmy Raskin. He's a favorite of mine. Really learned to appreciate him. Of course, South Carolina member of the House, Jim Clyburn, very instrumental in Biden's success last time around. It's going to be.
What about Hillary Clinton? Isn't Hillary Clinton giving a speech tonight? I know you've got the local Chicago news coverage, but I believe the DNC official list included Hillary Clinton giving a speech tonight.
Yes.
Big speech. Now, one thing I would point out, why I bring up Hillary Clinton in this case. Obviously, Hillary was the first female nominee for the Democratic Party or any party, right? Major candidate for either of the two major parties. Kamala Harris isn't talking much about being the first female president. She is not pushing those same buttons in the same way that Hillary did. And it's not that no one realizes it, man. I've talked to lots of excited women that want to see this glass ceiling broken, want this to be the case for her. But, Dom, I'm not hearing it from the campaign per se. They're not the ones casting it through the prism of first female president.
Right. They're not leading that. That's not the first thing they're saying. The joy, I think is really what is it attracts, man. You talk about joy, you talk about something that's aspirational. It is something that everyone can get on with. I know that the Republicans and the MAGAs have been, harping, oh, she's not doing enough, press, and where's all the policies? As Congressman Pocan said, they just added the other name, to the list, man. Let them work through the kinks. They're working on the policy stuff. We're going to hear a lot, I think, this week, and in the weeks to come, that will get clarified. And certainly, just because the Republicans want Harris
Hope
to
and change. That's
sit
what I
down,
want.
the Republicans are demanding she sit down with the press and yada. You know what? Take your time. Enjoy the moment, work the crowd, work the fever, work the emotion. Joy is contagious, and I think that is the most important part, at least at this phase of the campaign. And this is going to be a joyous event here this week.
I only see you happy when there's a party going on.
That's it. There's a party going on. It's a DNC in Chicago, man, and we are here. Hell, we'll even maybe try to hit a couple of the events where politicians will come and speak at eating events if we can, set our clocks right and be motivated enough.
Well, you're getting up for the breakfast tomorrow morning? Come on, man. I went to the Ron Johnson, Rick Scott, Trump Tower presser, man. Where were you at that?
You did go, so we didn't have to go. I do appreciate that.
Maybe we'll share a little of the opposition sound.
I can't wait. Yeah, I mean, it's good to contrast, what the Republicans and MAGAs are saying and what's going on here in Chicago at the DNC.
Well, Ron did point out it's really, really hard to be a billionaire.
It's when a rich white guy is going to catch a break in this country.
More Devil's Advocates live from the DNC in Chicago, the United Center. That's the place to be. You're here right now with us. Rich, can you hear me? Tell me when you got it recording.
Yes, we are rolling.
Join the Devil's Advocates live at the DNC at the United Center in Chicago. All the political stars. Fuck. Let me try that one more time. Tune in Tuesday for the Devil's Advocates. We're here in Chicago. The DNC is the occasion. All the political stars will join us at the table. Devil's Advocates, you got to listen. That's tight, but
Right,
I
got it,
think
yeah.
that's under 10 or a little over 10.
I'll
but
make it fit.
Damn close to 10.
All right.
Thanks.
Yep.
And that means we're not doing one after your show because we
Yeah,
got a
'cause
show right after your show.
Aaron
So,
has to pile right in here at 6. Yep.
perfect. Thanks, Rich.
The Devil's Advocates radio show is broadcast under a time brokerage agreement between Devil Radio and Civic Media Inc. Some portions of this program may be pre-recorded. Warning, you are about to listen to the greatest radio show ever. And due to contractual obligations and to shield our airwaves and corporate licensees from any semblance of liability, responsibility, and gullibility, we must tell you the views represented on this show are not necessarily those of this station or its management. This radio show contains differing points of view on current political topics, and due to the nature of its contents, it should be heard by everyone. Thank you for listening. Now live from the Civic Media Studios in Madison, Wisconsin, where the political party is just beginning, welcome to the Devil's Advocates radio show. Friends proving it's never personal, only politics.
Please allow me to introduce myself.
And now, here's your hosts, Dom and Crute.
Welcome back to the Devil's Advocates radio show live in Chicago for the DNC. I got it right this time. Dom, we've got a friend of ours. He is the former DNC national chairman, former labor secretary. He is Tom Perez, our friend, a guy with some, Milwaukee roots and Wisconsin roots. Let's turn on his microphone so we can hear him. Tom, welcome to the show, man.
It's great to be back. I was in Milwaukee over the weekend celebrating my father-in-law's 88th birthday.
Oh, wow.
And then took the train down here today. And as always, we had a great time in Milwaukee. And it's great to be here in my personal capacity with all of you.
It's good to see you again.
Yes.
Tom, Your daughter's done at UW now?
She's done. She graduated in 2020 in the height of COVID. She's been dating a guy now for 4 years who they were lifeguarding at the Union Pier the summer before senior year, and they're still together,
Wow.
living in Washington. So a lot of memories. My son went to USC, and now they're in the Big Ten, and USC plays Wisconsin
September
this
28th,
year.
sir. Yeah.
And guess what? My son already has his tickets for the game, and I've already told him I'm rooting for the Badgers.
All right. Well done, sir.
I am also planning a party for that day. Tom
Oh
Perez.
my God! Oh, I might have to go now. Except there's this thing going on called a campaign.
Tom, we lobbied you for a couple years. DNC MKE 2020, and you awarded it to Milwaukee, and of course the pandemic set in. It never quite happened like we would have envisioned it. But now with the DNC here in Chicago, Kamala Harris and her team have this brilliant idea. They're involving Milwaukee. There's a campaign rally in Milwaukee tomorrow, and effectively it's going to be, a broadcast simulcast between Milwaukee and Chicago. I think it's brilliant. Tom, what's your thought?
I'm thrilled to hear about it. And, the vice president, as you know, has been to Milwaukee many times.
Yeah.
And Tim Walz, being from Minnesota, it's a kindred spirit. I've known Governor Walz for such a long time, and I was thrilled when he was chosen because he understands every county in Wisconsin, because so many counties in Wisconsin are so similar to so many counties in Minnesota. There's a reason why there's reciprocity between UW and the U, because there's a lot of simpatico-ness between the two states. And tomorrow's event is going to be lights out. I'm sure on AI we will know how many people showed up at the rally. But the energy's everywhere. And I have to give a shout out to my friend Ben Wickler, the party chair in Wisconsin. Worked closely with him during my tenure at the DNC, and he was kicking butt back then and continues to do so. But I really want to shout out the voters in Wisconsin, because every year is a huge year, whether it's the election last year for Judge Janet, and she went to the same high school that my wife went to, Pi High XI in Milwaukee.
Pius, okay, yeah.
Folks have understood the stakes. I mean, democracy is on the ballot, and it's not just on the ballot during a presidential election year. The reason we have fair maps in Wisconsin is because voters turned out in 2023. Voters turned out, frankly, every year since 2016 in abundance, and that's why we've got Tony Evers for a second term. That's why I know that Tammy Baldwin is going to win again, notwithstanding the millions of dollars. I was watching part of the Packer game last night, and I think I saw 3 ads, that were vile. But people know Tammy. She's a brand in Wisconsin, and I'm confident she's going to pull it out. But the stakes couldn't be higher. I mean, we always have some playful banter on this, but there's nothing playful about the stakes that lie ahead here. We have freedom on the ballot in so many different ways, whether it's a woman's right to choose, or whether it's the freedom to love, whether it's the freedom to have access to basic rights. I mean, that Project 2025, I urge all your listeners, spend 5 or 10 minutes looking at it. It is a radical agenda, doing away with the right to organize, making all federal employees at-will employees. Again, a woman's right to choose. It is just beyond radical. And, the last time Trump ran, I think a lot of folks thought, well, he's a little bit of bluster. You got to take him at his word. When he says, I want to be a dictator for a day, believe it.
Yes.
He wasn't subtle. Like, this will be the last time you'll have to vote. I take him at his word, and Wisconsinites have done that. And I was proud to bring the convention to Wisconsin in 2020, and we did so because we wanted to make sure we made a very strong statement to residents of Wisconsin that we are organizing everywhere. We care about Milwaukee. We care about the Midwest. And, I'd like to think that our engagement there was certainly part of it. The most important thing was what Joe Biden and Kamala Harris stood for. Elections are about the future now. And I think we have a very bright future with Kamala Harris and Tim Walz. I'm sad that we haven't had time to chat as often over the last 3 years, because this is the most consequential 3.5 years I've seen in my lifetime. The investments in infrastructure. I was in Wausau, 7 months ago at a home where they're finally getting, clean pipes because they've had lead-infested pipes, for the entire time. The family had been living there 44 years. They never had clean water. Now, you look at the investments in high-speed internet across the state. If you have a mental health issue and you need health care and you live in rural Wisconsin and you don't have high-speed internet, you don't have health care. Plain and simple. And, because of the investments from the vice president and others, we are building internet for all. And because of the leadership of your governor, Wisconsin is ahead of almost every other state at the pace of bringing not only lead pipe, but also high-speed internet to every corner of the state. And so we've made so much progress. And yet, the future really is at stake. What kind of a country do we want to live in? A country where you have access to health care, or a country where we move backward? A country where women have freedoms, or a country where we rip them away? I don't understand when I hear J.D. Vance talk about, I want to penalize childless women who have cats, I guess. And yet, he had an opportunity to vote for the child care tax credit.
And he did not do that.
Yeah. I mean, if you care about families and children, the biggest, we know how to reduce childhood poverty in this country. Why do I say that with such confidence? Because we did it, damn it, in 2021 when we had the child care tax credit as part of the American Rescue Plan. Who cast the deciding vote on the American Rescue Plan? Woman named Kamala Harris.
The most consequential election in our lifetime. Tom Perez, former Labor Secretary, former DNC chair. It's great to see you again, Tom.
Always.
In Wisconsin, since Kamala Harris has taken over the top of the ticket, the enthusiasm has gone through the roof. We've heard the numbers, up to 43,000 new volunteers in a month, Tom. Now, you've been doing this a long, long time. What does that say? What does that mean?
I've never seen anything like it, and Wisconsin is not an outlier. I was in Maine, like a week or so after the president's announcement, and they went from 60 volunteers to 700.
Wow.
Same thing in Michigan. We're all sports guys, and sports is about momentum. When you continue momentum, that's how you win. And let's be clear, this is going to be a close election because we're a divided nation. The momentum is on our side. Why? Because we have two candidates that are focused on the future, and they're not focused on themselves. This election at a certain level is about pronouns. This is about you. Joe Biden said that when he stepped aside. It wasn't about him. Kamala Harris and Tim Walz are talking about, how do we make your lives easier? How do we lower the cost of groceries? How do we lower the cost of housing? How do we make sure you get access to prescription drugs that don't break the bank of your family budget? And he's all about grievance, about himself. And that's, I think the future is bright. And we've got leaders should summon the better angels of communities. That's what I've always tried to do. I've had the privilege of leading organizations I never dreamed I'd have had the privilege of doing. I just had someone from the Labor Department that I worked with come up to me. I hadn't seen him in 8 years, and say, really enjoyed, the tone you set. You included everyone, and that gives me great comfort, because that's what leaders are supposed to do. They're supposed to lead. They're supposed to bring everyone together. And I was in. I've spent a lot of time in Wausau and Appleton, and what inspires me as much as anyone is the Hmong community there.
Yeah.
We have an opportunity to elect the first Hmong American to the state assembly. And it is a community that literally gave their lives for the United States. And, they're just demonized by the other side. That's not who we are. So we're going to summon our better angels.
Tom, mass deportations. Trump is threatening, if elected, and
take him at his word.
I believe him, sir. I believe that's his goal. I don't know how it would actually be implemented. but this seemingly is a sentiment that's supported by so many of the MAGA base. I don't know. This is not the America I want to live in, Tom.
And that's what part of what we have to do is remind people of who we are as a nation. And on immigration, the best person that I would cite is Ronald Reagan. I invite you to take a look at the last speech he gave as president, January 19th, 1989. He could have talked about anything. What did he talk about? Immigrants. And what he said was, and I'm paraphrasing, but not by much, if our nation's history is what, our nation's immigrant history is what makes us great. And the moment we turn our backs on them, we will be a lesser nation. That was Ronald Reagan. These folks who in Congress who have his bust in their office need to read the stuff he's talking about and practice what he has preached.
Tom Perez, former chairman of the Democratic National Convention, former labor secretary. I'd like to think friend of the Devil's Advocates.
Always friends of the Devil's
Tom,
Advocate.
thank you so much for making time for us today.
I will be with you anytime except when the Bills play the Packers. I can't do that.
Thank you, Tom. Tom Perez, thank you. More Devil's Advocates live at the DNC in Chicago. Come back with us.
The Devil's Advocates. Sausage making never looked so good.
And welcome back to the Devil's Advocates radio show, live from the DNC at the United Center in Chicago. Thank you, Tom Perez, former labor secretary, former chair of the DNC. We had a lot of fun going around with him. What was that, 2016 cycle? Great to hear from Tom again. Great to see Tom again. Look forward to perhaps catching up with him more often.
Yeah, we exchanged numbers. No one ever wants our phone number, Don. No, I'm good. No,
you're
I'm
fine.
good.
You're fine, man.
We understand there is some breaking news out of Chicago as well. Protesters have apparently broached at least one line of the chain link down the green zone. This being reported to us, we will update you. We've got some video, but that doesn't play so well on the radio programs, Don, but what can you tell us? I see you've got some local news.
According to CBS Chicago, protesters breached a security fence into the security perimeter for the DNC Monday afternoon. The official protest that moved away from Park 578 by just after 4:30 p.m., but a faction stayed behind and broke through the fence at Washington Boulevard and Wolcott Avenue. The group made it through the first line of the perimeter and was trying to make it through the second, which could allow them access to the United Center. chanting, "Whose streets? Our streets." Just after Tara Molina was finishing up a live shot for CBS News Chicago, protesters began lining up behind her and shaking the security fences. The barrier came down and started crawling through. Once people started crossing, police quickly moved in, and the tone of the protest changed dramatically.
Now we've also got Civic Media's own Max Martinson. We don't have to credit other news sources. We've got a eyewitness. Max was out there. He's got video of it. That's what was being represented.
Excellent. Apparently, after the security fences were breached, protesters started throwing drinks and signs.
Never
at
waste
police
a
officers.
drink. What are you
Come on.
doing?
Officers with gas masks and riot gear moved and remained at the scene by 5:15. Earlier, the loaded up what appeared to be pepper balls, which are used to disperse crowds. The U.S. Capitol Police were also on the scene with riot shields. Only about 100 people were part of the faction involved in the security breach. Vast majority of people involved in the protest were peaceful and had left the scene by this time.
And it's also been reported to us by Max that the police took bolt cutters away from the protesters. When you show up with bolt cutters, you're up to no good, Dom. We do have video, as mentioned. Check it out on the Civic Media. I'm sure it's going up on the social medias. I see a red bolt cutter that looks shiny and new, like someone went to the hardware store earlier today to buy those. Thank you, Max Martinson, for sharing that information, our Cub reporter here at the DNC out there while we're doing our little job here at the table, Dom. But I played Cub reporter earlier today, and since I went out in the community, I want to make you suffer through.
You went out in the community and didn't get Governor Walz, but you got what? Ron Johnson and Rick Scott, two of the richest guys in the Senate.
I went to Trump Tower, as one does when one's at the DNC. And I don't know if you noted last night, Don, but they played, or more accurately, projected a couple things on the Trump Tower last night. We'll talk about that in a moment. But let me play, and I'm going to need your help, Rich. Let's play a little bit of the sound we've got from earlier today. My sound, I got this. I plopped down in the front row. I'm wearing my red hat. Ron acted like he didn't know me. You know me, Ron. This was actually near the end of the press conference. Rich, we're going to do Ron Johnson. Cut number 5. She was the nice lady next to me from Bloomberg asked, why would black voters, why should they vote for Trump? Play it for the people. Ron Johnson's response.
We're the party of Lincoln. We're the party that ended slavery. We're here in Chicago for the DNC. That is the party of identity politics. One thing I can absolutely guarantee about President Trump is he wants to be president for every American. And during his presidency, every American benefited. Real wages were up. And quite honestly, they were up higher for many of these demographic groups. So again, we don't play identity politics. We actually embrace what Martin Luther King
I don't know if
talked
she's
about
black. I thought
in
she was
his speech.
Indian.
Judge people by the content of their character, not the color of their skin.
Oh, God.
That's what
When
President
Republicans
Trump
start
did. His press
quoting
conference he did in the Bronx.
MLK.
I'd quite honestly encourage him. I'd love to see he can do that in Milwaukee. I suppose he'd come to Chicago. There's probably not much hope of him winning in Illinois, but I'd love to see him come to Milwaukee because the input I'm getting, I'm doing some urban talk radio in Milwaukee. There's pretty good reception to it, quite honestly. So again, President Trump wants to be president for every American. And again, he's shown that he was, and he can do it again.
You're there as press, right? How do you not laugh when he says this? We got one more, I believe, from Ron Johnson. Let's hear the Kamala inflation, easy for me to say. Cut number 6, please.
Inflation damage has been done. The stat I always like looking at because people don't really, it's hard to understand percentages exactly.
It's hard.
So
all you dumb people.
The stat I use is $1 you held at the start of the Biden administration is worth 83 cents. That's literally like they took 17 cents away from you.
They took it away.
That damage has already been done. Now, what you need to do is make sure that inflation doesn't continue. And with Kamala Harris proposing $2 trillion more in increased child tax credit and health subsidies, $25,000. Where's this money going to come from? Well, it's going to be borrowed. That's printing more money. Inflation is pretty easy to define. It's too many dollars chasing too few goods. So you're massively spending deficit dollars, printing money. At the same time, you're instituting price controls, which will absolutely reduce the supply. So you're exacerbating the problem. You're not fixing it all. You're doing the exact wrong thing on both ends of that equation.
You're so
Reducing supply and dramatically increasing the number of dollars. It's going to be a disaster. And again, that's
what about
the
when they
media
raise
needs
the
to
prices,
have
Rob?
her explain. Why wouldn't it work that way? She won't be able to answer that question. I hope she gets it.
I mean, doesn't talk about the price increases from corporate America, the greedflation whatsoever. Doesn't talk about record earnings or where the stock market is over 40,000. No. It's all Kamala's fault.
Well, he told the audience, including yours truly, it's really tough to be a billionaire.
Come on.
It's not easy to be a billionaire. That's a direct quote.
Come on.
The Democratic Party responded, Ron Johnson should spend more time talking to everyday Wisconsinites and less time butting up to millionaires like Rick Scott, one of the wealthiest members of Congress. Fortunately, voters across the country will have the opportunity this week to hear the Democrats, including VP Kamala Harris, Governor Tim Walz, about their vision to make life easier for working families across America, not billionaires.
Oh, poor billionaires.
Folks, we are the devil's advocates, not even close to being billionaires. We are at the DNC. We are rich and partying and friendship and good times. Come back with us live at the DNC. More devil's advocates.
Kicking ass and taking names since the Wisconsin Uprising, the Devil's Advocates.
Welcome back to the Devil's Advocates Radio Show. Monday at the DNC, Chicago, the United Center. We're here, Dom. I've been looking forward to this for months and months and months. And here it is. The party is upon us. And tonight is Joe Biden's night. He will give the big speech tonight, Dom. But he will not be giving the only speech tonight. There'll be a number of speeches. And don't forget, we're going to be anchoring live coverage beginning at 7 o'clock this evening, all week long, Monday through Thursday. Devil's Advocates will go from 7 o'clock till the final bell of the evening, Dom. You're ready to work late, aren't you? Work hard, work late.
I mean, for this special and joyous occasion, I'll dig deep, Crute. I'll sleep when I'm dead.
Here are a few of the speakers on the stage tonight. United Auto Workers President Shawn Fain is going to speak to the DNC, did a little RNC speech in Milwaukee recently. Rep. Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, Rep. Jamie Raskin. I bumped into Jamie Raskin down here on the floor a little bit earlier today, Dom. Rep. Jasmine Crockett from Texas. And there will be several others, including Andy Beshear, governor of Kentucky, Senator Raphael Warnock, Democrat from Georgia, Chris Coons, who Ron Johnson made fun of today. I'm sure he's a nice guy, but what's he know about running a business? You know, it's really tough being a billionaire, says Ron.
I mean, come on.
You know, it's hard to be profitable, period, but, you know, to be a billionaire, that makes you special.
Wow.
Ron likes those billionaires.
Well, you know, way to play to the crowd, man. I mean, there's only so many of them.
Hillary Clinton giving a speech tonight along with Jill Biden, Dr. Jill Biden, and, of course, Joe Biden, the president, speaking tonight from the United Center. We will anchor all the coverage. Check your local listings, but it'll be on Civic Media. It'll be on WCPT 820 AM, on KTNF 950 AM in Minneapolis, and worldwide streaming at DARNWI.com. Dom.
Crute, some of the news today that caught my eye. The Fab Boy himself, Santos, man, George Santos.
Pleading guilty.
Pleads guilty to 2 charges? But what? Had to pay almost $375,000 in restitution and could get what? I saw 2, then I also saw up to perhaps 6 to 8 years.
6 to 8 years in prison?
Damn.
That seems like a long time. And, Dom, it looks like the DNC is beginning. The first speaker is taking to the stage. Jamie Harrison, the DNC chairman, is speaking now. I wonder if we can do some live listen-ins here. Maybe we'll dip in a little bit as the speakers proceed. Definitely going to be doing all the speeches tonight during the longer anchored coverage beginning at 7 o'clock. So stick around for that. And I understand Todd Alba doing a little pre-cap between 6 and 7 tonight. So stick around on the Civic Media station you're listening to right now for Todd. He'll join you at 6 and then back to the Devil's Advocates at 7. And we're going to be joined by WCPT's own Patty Vasquez, 8 to 10 each night this week.
According to ABC News, Santos, a former rep from New York, on Monday pleaded guilty to wire fraud and aggravated identity theft and admitted he committed other crimes that could land him in prison
many crimes
for about 7 years under the terms of a plea agreement with federal prosecutors.
As a Republican, wouldn't that just make him more popular? I've seen the license plates. I'm voting for the felon. Maybe they mean Santos.
Santos told the judge he is committed to making amends and learning from this experience. He's due to be sentenced on February 7th.
I wonder if he's still killing it on Cameo. That's his primary income source these days.
Now, he was suing Jimmy Kimmel, I believe, was the one who hired the Cameo and played it off. Well, Santos ended up suing him. That was also dropped today or thrown out of court. So Santos not only pleading guilty, but his case against Jimmy Kimmel thrown out as well.
Dom, talking about fraud, here's an important fraud. Do you know that Donald Trump accepted the endorsement of Taylor Swift falsely?
Yeah, man, you see that? So someone put out some false AI of the Swifties and Taylor Swift. You know, I want saying I believe Taylor Swift was in a Uncle Sam outfit, pointing to the screen and saying, "I want you to vote for Donald Trump." Now, this is the guy, Donald Trump, who claimed that the rallies that the Vice President Walz were having were what? AI, and that she should be disqualified from running for president because of her use of AI. And literally a few days later, this ass truthies out an AI saying, "I accept."
Trump may like the idea of a Swift endorsement, but apparently he didn't actually get a Swift endorsement. Like so much, what's it say here? But like so much with poll-sagging candidate, the long-sought backing of the tortured poets department songstress. It's pure fiction, Dom. Didn't happen.
Didn't happen. Didn't happen.
With a photo the ex-Celebrity Apprentice host posted of the teen wearing, you talked about it, a Swifties for Trump t-shirt. Yeah. An article claiming that Swift fans are turning to Trump after the terror threats that saw the singer's Vienna, Austria shows were canceled in early August. In fact, the computer-generated image on the original feed of the conservative media outlet Amuse blatantly labels the post as satire. I literally don't think Trump knows what that word means.
No.
So, anyways, she did not endorse you. Whether or not you would like to accept the false endorsement of Taylor Swift didn't happen. And I also understand Trumpster's claiming he's better looking than Kamala.
This is where we're at, man. This is Trump losing his freaking mind. I get it, man. It's like we bust each other's chops, man. We've known each other for over 30 years.
You were walking, looking in your own reflection in the window today, going, "Oh, damn, that's a good-looking man." You were making that claim today.
Well, it's true, but I'm not running for president, and I'm not going against my political rival after calling her what crazy, that laugh, and communist Kamala, and I'm better looking than she is. I'm just better looking than she is. This is the level of discourse and political seriousness that we are getting from the megas, and of course it is.
The greatest meme I saw was Jabba the Hutt pulling Princess Leia in by the chain. You know, Carrie Fisher, right. Beautiful actress when she was alive, and him saying to Princess Leia, "You know, I'm better looking than you."
Just terrible. Just terrible. But what does that say then? And, contrast that with what's going to go on here this week. You're gonna hear the president speak tonight. You're gonna hear Hillary Clinton speak tonight. You're gonna hear AOC speak tonight. Jamie Raskin speaking tonight. You're gonna be talking about freedom and joy and making things better for everyday Americans.
But when's Hulk Hogan gonna go off?
And don't forget Kid Rock. And then what? The right is complaining about the rock and roll show, the entertainment that will be here at the DNC. It's like,
that was Laura Ingraham.
Is that who that was?
She's not impressed by all the energy. It's going to be like a rock show. Like all they have is enthusiasm going for them.
Yes, and it's a wonderful feeling. And I had no idea how much I missed it. How much I missed the joy. I mean, Crute, we've been doing this a while, man. And to come here and actually be excited to see the candidate, it's been a while, man. To feel this kind of joy and to have a messenger specifically address that. And it just makes Trump and the megas and J.D. Vance look so small. The message that the Republicans and megas are throwing out there is so stale and recycled and overused.
No, it was great. I saw Rick Scott today. We should play a little bit more of this Republican sound. Their press conference at Trump Tower, Dom. And last night they were flashing pictures on the Trump Tower, and I kind of
find like the light show kind of thing projecting.
They
up
were
on,
projecting up on Trump Tower, and what I found unusual today, and I was a little surprised by this, Trump Tower, the letters, they're really faded and kind of crappy, like the M in the Trump, like part of the coloring is falling off the building. Now the building itself, probably a slight step up from the Congressional Plaza where I've booked our accommodations.
Hey, I mean, it's no circus, but I'll take what I can get.
But last night on the Trump building, Dom, if you can see here, they projected Project
2025 HQ.
That's one of them.
Yes, well
they
done.
had rotating statements here. Here's another one.
Trump Vance out. I can't. Sorry, man, I can't get that one.
Well, here's one.
Trump Vance, weird as hell, quote unquote.
And they're projecting that on Trump's building. And that's got to be a little galling when they're trash talking you on the side of your own landmark. And, Trump's tower is right on Walbach. It's just outside the green zone here in Chicago. It's really within spitting distance, damn near, of the United Center.
And
Dom.
that's where you went and saw Rick Scott and Ron Johnson this morning lamenting how tough it is for the billionaire class.
Well, Rich, if you're ready, let's play Senator Rick Scott. And this guy does look a hell of a lot like Skeletor. But Senator Rick Scott.
Voldemort?
Well, listen to him explain inflation. He's really good at this.
Oh, good. Excellent. Let's hear it.
Cut 7.
Trump was in office. Where was inflation? It was way under 2%. Gas prices were $1.87 when we left office. Let's look under Biden and Harris. I mean, you can look at all these numbers. I mean,
Look at the numbers.
It's as simple as that. You have a choice. You can look at we have two people that have a track record. And who are you going to pick? I'm going to pick the business guy that understands that you got to get the economy going again, that you got to get energy prices down. You can't have higher regulatory environment, higher taxes, higher fees, higher permitting, higher everything, and think prices are going to come down. It's pretty simple to me.
It's so simple. I mean, come on, man. Inflation at 2%, 187 gas. I mean, what was going on? Why was gas? Oh, that's right. Nobody was driving anywhere because we're in the middle of a pandemic and gas prices plummeted.
Yeah, they don't often bring that point up.
They don't talk about that part of it.
And Rick Scott doesn't often talk about the fact that he was CEO of a corporation that defrauded Medicare
to billions of dollars.
Well, they were fined $1.7 billion because the outrage was grander than that. And he pled the fifth many times. But, he's a businessman.
Yeah, he knows. Hey, I want a businessman. Like, come on, man. Trump steaks, Trump vodkas, Trump University.
I was dying to ask the question because they're these two supposed businessmen, Ron Johnson and Rick Scott, one who defrauded Medicare and one who's the captive supplier of his father-in-law's business, really difficult to make it profitable, though. Ron, those billionaires, you really got to admire those guys. But I was just dying to ask the question, what successful business has Trump ever had? Because, The Apprentice wasn't really anything other than a reality TV show. And him firing people in the boardroom, that's not really accomplishing anything.
No, it was a show. It was pretend. I mean, come on, man. It was carnival barking.
I see John Nichols. I hope he can join us here on the fine radio airwaves.
We got like 90 seconds. Maybe we'll get John Nichols in here shortly. We do have one more cut of Rick Scott. If you would please, Rich, let's hear the DNC and the no enthusiasm for Harris. What? Cut
it's
it,
all
please.
for Trump.
In every county in the last 8 months, there was no energy for Biden. There's no energy for Harris. We know what socialism is in Florida. We have a lot of people that have come from Cuba and Venezuela and Nicaragua, and they've dealt with it. It's completely rejected there. So Trump is doing unbelievable in Florida.
Unbelievable. So what? Rick Scott has been to every county in Florida in the last 8 months. Well, how many have you been to in the last 1 month?
No, there's no enthusiasm for Harris.
None. No, you got the Harris
Those are
Walls
AI crowds.
Campaign, or at least folks, supporters in the villages, man. In the villages. There's a little bit of enthusiasm, Rick.
Have you ever met Rick Scott? There's no enthusiasm for that human being. I'm not even sure if he is a human being. I really am wondering. Folks, we are the Devil's Advocates. We're here at the DNC. With all the party people.
Voldemort's a human being. He was just an evil wizard.
Wasn't he like part snake, though?
That's what he could do, man.
I think we're going to pull John Nichols from the Nation, the Cap Times locally. He's here at the DNC in Chicago. We're going to pull him to the table Stick around. More Devil's Advocates live on the road. Our pal John Nichols joining us next.
You're listening to the radio show your mother warned you about, The Devil's Advocates.
And welcome back to the Devil's Advocates radio show live from the DNC United Center in Chicago. Check us out on the socials on Facebook at the Devil's Advocates Radio, on Twitter at Devil Radio.
And don't forget, check your local listings because we're going to bring you anchored coverage beginning at 7 o'clock and go until the end all week long. And our pal Todd Alba what's he going to do?
Fill the gap 7 to 8? What's happening?
He's going to bridge the gap.
6 to 7. Bridge the gap.
And we got a fine guest here at the table. He is John Nichols from The Nation, from the Cap Times in Madison. John, great to see you, man. Welcome to our little corner of the DNC world.
This is an amazingly good corner.
Isn't it
right?
nice?
You got
right?
like light coming in front. It's actually
you got windows. You got a little breeze when we open up the door.
I had stumbled upon ABC Radio or something. Yeah, this is very good. They must know what show matters.
Oh yeah.
John, this is the farthest back corridor of the DNC convention, I think.
Either that or that's the front door.
That could be. That could be. We're not complaining. We got good company at the table. We got a fine convention. And tonight is Joe Biden's night.
It is his night. Yeah.
And also Hillary Clinton going to give a speech.
It's going to be a long night, brother. I want to tell you that. I looked at the schedule. I don't know if you looked at the whole thing. That is a very, very, very. They have like basically every labor leader in America speaking, and then every mayor, and then Hillary Clinton, then James Taylor, right, and then the whole Biden family.
I see fire and I see rain.
Yeah, it's a good question. Which song? I think You Got a Friend. Don't you think?
Yeah,
I think so. But anyway, bottom line, it's going to be a very, very lengthy night. A lot of amazing things. It is Biden's night, and I will tell you this: there will be a point tonight where the camera pans the crowd, right, and you're going to see people crying. And it will be because, there's poignancy to him standing down and all that. But there is also a sense that this guy set out very unexpectedly roughly 4 years ago, said, I will be the most progressive president since Franklin Roosevelt. And on domestic policy, by and large, he's achieved it. So, it's sort of an epic moment.
Yeah.
But there will also be in the back of people's minds a sense it's good that this is why this is on Monday night, right? This is the end of the past. Tomorrow begins the future.
And tomorrow, Kamala Harris is going to be in Milwaukee. They're going to simulcast a rally during the DNC. I think this is actually brilliant, although from a media perspective, it kind of stretches one a little bit. You know, you can only do so much coverage.
On Wednesday, I'm going to see you with one of those whiplash collars on. Yeah.
You know, I did put in for credentials in Milwaukee. I don't think I can play this double header.
It's hard to tell. You got to drive fast. But no, look, that's genius. And here's the bottom line. I think that Donald Trump's been running for president for now the better part of 10 years, right? And so he gets to a weekend. He says, I want to take a day off, stuff like this. Kamala Harris, she's on a 100-day plan, right? And I think she's looking at it that way. It's like, I got another day. Am I going to sit in a hotel? Or am I going to go do what Trump did and go to the convention each night and sit up in the stands and listen? Or am I going to go to Milwaukee, a swing state, and, you know, do a little something? I have little doubt she may, you know, decide Wednesday morning to head up to Saugatuck, Michigan and, you know, go to the beach, campaign over there. Because I think she sees every day as an essential day to getting to be the president of the United States. And she's not going to let one of them go by. I think the Milwaukee rally is going to be a very big deal. And, of course, people are going to be counting. Were there more people in there for Trump's renomination? Or are there more people in there for Kamala Harris's rally?
Oh, they're going to have way more for Kamala Harris, I suspect. John, here's my greatest regret, and it's only Monday. I went to the Wisconsin breakfast this morning, and I'm enjoying, and, you know, I'm trying to get some sound after the breakfast. And one of the fine delegates said, wasn't Tim Walz great this morning? Tim Walz spoke to the Wisconsin delegation first thing this morning.
He just shot in there to give a little chit-chat.
And I missed it.
Well, you're a loser. Yeah,
I am.
He had one job, John. One job.
No, but, you know, here's the bottom line. This place is so sick with celebrities, right, that you are going to miss something every minute. I was a friend of mine, John Fugelsang, he does radio or streaming or whatever it is around the corner. And we were talking a few minutes ago, and he said, yeah, I'm just sitting here pulling people over, right? And it's members of Congress, cabinet secretaries, stuff like this. Now, getting Tim Walz at the Wisconsin thing is pretty good.
Introduced by Chuck Schumer, no less.
Yeah, you know, that's how it goes. Couldn't get Nancy Pelosi, but Schumer's pretty good. You know, not bad. You know, I suppose when Kamala Harris comes up Wednesday, she'll have Nancy Pelosi.
Folks, you're listening to the Devil's Advocates Radio Show. We got John Nichols for a few more minutes. Then we're going to give way for Todd Alba. And then we'll be back at 7 o'clock to do the anchored coverage all night long. The speeches have begun. I heard the tears. Hillary, though.
Yeah,
Hillary is.
I told you so.
Kind of gonna.
No, it's I told you so.
That's gonna be I told you so.
Yeah,
speech.
right on. And that's good.
Do we need to hear that tone from Hillary?
No, we do, and it's all fine because it now works, right? It works actually very, very well. She says, it's just like, I mean, it's just as gently as I can. I just want to tell you, 2016, I said this Trump thing was not going to work out, and it did not. And I don't think she's going to be. I think she'll have humor. She's actually, if you follow her on Twitter and stuff like that, she's got a little bit of humor there.
Yeah,
I think
she's been
she's
really
got an
good on
edge to
social.
her.
Yep.
And I think it's going to look. It's all a competition, right? Everybody's trying to give the best speech. I have a feeling Hillary Clinton's going to come out there and give a pretty rocking speech. You know, because I think and I think a lot of people are going to get that I told you so very, very clearly.
Can't wait.
John Nichols, thank you. Thank you to Jennifer Granholm, the former governor of Michigan, also
current TV host,
Secretary of Energy.
Yeah, that too. Canadian.
Tom Perez today. Tom, very good.
Yeah.
We had our buddy Scott Ross today. We kind of blew by Matt Flynn today.
Yeah, sorry, Matt. Try tomorrow. Congressman Mark Pocan, friend as well. Thank you, Dad.
Yeah, a lot of good people at the table. Save the best for last, John Nichols.
Yeah, obviously.
Of course, man.
Yeah.
Now,
you're going to have better tomorrow.
Rich, thank you for what you did. Thank you for the team here at Civic Media supporting us. Corey, Casper, Fancy, Brian, Max, everybody. We'll do it again tomorrow, but we'll be back at 7 o'clock. Anchored coverage all night long right here on Civic Media. Todd Alba next. Devil's Advocates till 10.
Thank you, John.
It was a total pleasure.